My name is Matt Messer. I drive the Zamboni for the Calgary Flames. Average day for me at the Saddle Dome usually entails ice maintenance at least once a day. On a game day, the game crew will come in and do ice maintenance again, make sure that all the edges are nice and level, everything's nice and smooth, and the ice is ready to go. During a regular NHL season, there's 41 Calgary Flames home games, so there's quite a bit of ice work to be done. Usually for an NHL game, every intermission, each machine will take a full bin of snow off. So we're cutting a lot harder than any community rinks. The ice surface, well, we try to keep it around about 1.25 inches. That gives us some play. If it gets anywhere below 1 inch, you get into a little bit of a worry zone. So when you're really skating them after a loss or something, they tend to put some real deep cuts into the ice. That's why we keep it nice and thick. Those gouges stay well away from the concrete. Leading up to, while we were waiting in the gate, it was a little nerve-wracking. I was starting to worry a little bit, but once I got out there, I just kind of tried to focus on the job at hand. Before I knew it, we were done, and my first NHL resurface was done. It's all behind me. Well, for one thing, you usually only want to turn right. You got a roller on one side that'll keep you safe if you hit the boards, but the other side, there's no roller. But other than that, it's not all that different to driving a car, except that you got a big sled on the back that's chewing up snow and throwing it into the front of your vehicle. I think the machine weighs somewhere around 2 to 3 tons empty, and when you fill it with snow and water, it gets a little bit heavier, yeah. There's a lot to remember while you're driving. You're trying to keep a lot of different things in your mind, but here in the NHL, we've got people on the ice during intermissions. You always want to be aware of where they are. Any pucks that may have fallen onto the ice or debris, you don't want to suck those up into the machine. You always want to check, make sure your engine temperature never gets up. Other than that, you just got lights here for fuel, overheat, anything like that. This is what adjusts the blade up and down. Keep control of the blade, raise it over the low spots, managing your water so that every time you go over a spot or overlap, you don't want to be dropping too much water, otherwise it takes a while to freeze. And you always want to avoid hitting the boards. It's always a good one. It's a lot to keep track of at first, but after you've done it a couple hundred times, you got the rhythm pretty good. We'll max out at 9 miles an hour. We're doing nowhere near that right now. I thought about going through the drive-thru, it's important, but most people are usually getting their beverages or going to the washroom and they're not paying much attention. So I know some people who get a little worried about it, especially if you have a miss. I mean, misses happen, but it can be embarrassing when there's 20,000 people watching you. But I know for some guys, like myself included, that I just try to focus on the ice when I go out there, not focus that anyone else is in the building. Just do your job. Hardest thing about the job is just, I mean, it can sometimes get repetitive, but if you want to keep that good product, you just gotta go through it every day. You gotta make sure that you're giving the best product possible, which can be difficult every now and then because it can get monotonous, I guess would be a good word sometimes. It's kind of a pun, yeah, going in circles, but every now and then you can get a little bit of feeling that you're just doing the same thing. It's almost like the movie Groundhog Day. You're just doing the same thing over and over, but it's always interesting when something happens, it kind of snaps you back into it. When I first started, there was a couple times where players walk in and you're like, holy, that's, someone you watch on TV and never think you'll meet, and they kind of walk by and say, hey, how's it going, all casually, and the first couple times it's a little nerve-wracking. You're a little kind of awestruck or starstruck, but it does tend to wear off after a while. I'm a big Flames fan. So the Calgary Flames that's my hometown team. The flood water actually got up pretty high. I mean, where we're sitting right now, we're probably 8 feet below the water line. I was not here when the water came in. I've seen the footage of it though, when it broke the back doors in and all came in, and it's a kind of terrifying scene in nature when that much water comes in. Did a lot of damage. I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures before. They're pretty rough. There's a long period after the flood happened where no one could come into the building. Someone who grew up here, grew up around and in the building, it was a little tough to take. When I tell people where I work, it's kind of you get that look on their face like, this guy's kidding me. And then it's more of a interest, like, you know, what's that like? How'd you get that job? And then usually, can I get a ride on the Zamboni is next to follow. But I know some guys who like to broadcast it. I personally, it's not something I go around saying a whole bunch, but if someone asks me, I'm more than willing to tell them. I usually start with I'm a nice technician, and if people don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically a Zamboni driver. When I talk to the chicks, it's usually Zamboni driver. Growing up, my plan was always to play the hockey, not to make the ice for them, but plans change and life comes at you. But the best way, if you wanted to become an ice technician, you just go down to your local arena and see if they have a job opening. Because most local arenas are filled with good guys they'll teach you how to drive, and it's a good place to learn, because most local arenas are pretty forgiving when you make mistakes. You don't want to jump straight into the NHL where 20,000 people are watching. It's a pretty good job to have. I'm pretty happy with how it's gone so far. My name's Matt Messer, and I drive the Zamboni for the Calgary Flames. You're watching GetOffWork.com. Good?
Yep, great.